I was very impressed by his motivation to learn Japanese. He's
うん。
currently living in Canada.
うん。
He likes Japanese anime and culture, but I felt that he struggled to speak in Japanese. At the beginning, I say he started from scratch. He had
うん。
no idea anything about the Japanese,
うん。
and his speaking speed was very very slow, and the pronunciation wasn't good. Yeah, I would say he definitely changed a lot.
うん。
Because he didn't have any confidence to speak in front of the people, but after the master course,
うん。
he tried to communicate with me more,
うん。
and which means he became much more friendly and communicative person.
うん。
And my impression of him had changed a lot.
SF 読み読むが好きです。みんななんでますか？シャワーマ食べたことがいます。ゲームが好きですか？私も漫画が好きです。
あれ、一人ですか？
一人です。
うん。
飲んでますか？
日本のお酒飲んでます。
お酒が好きですか? It was good. Like, I went from not knowing anything to
うん。
being able to at least speak a little bit more
Yeah.
compared to,
うん。
compared to where I was to where I
うん。
am.
うん。うん。
Definitely been a big improvement. Yeah, I started from zero, so the first, it was the first 10 were pretty good just to get a basis of what to say.
うん。
The second and third parts are kind of mixed in for me, so it's hard to tell the difference between the two.
うん。
I would say, I guess, I got some speaking practice, got some listening practice, so I eventually had to prioritize which ones I was going to learn from those.
うん。うん。
And I think probably the biggest challenge was like the last part where it's like asking questions back, because we never really learned how to ask questions back until it was just basically, it took me about 3 or 4 lessons to kind of realize, okay, how to ask questions back. I would say probably the most thing that I used, just because I didn't necessarily remember,
うん。
was suminasen, here's the word, nandeska.
うん。うん。
Just
Yeah.
because I sometimes forget some of the terminology, so I use that a lot. I guess it depends on whenever we practice. Like, it would be like, okay, shumi nan desu ka? Like, what are your
Great.
or, things like that. Like, just kind of whatever I learned is just learning how to ask back a question back.
うん。
Just kind of eventually. So basically, I started with that, and then how do I ask the same question?
うん。うん。
Ask the same
Nice.
thing as a question is kind of the approach.
うん。 Nice, nice,
Or
nice.
just trying to piece things together, because even though I don't have the sentence, it's just like switching words around.
うん。
Does that still make sense as a sentence? Well, I think the hardest part again was just because the first part we learned strictly on how to introduce yourself.
うん。
It was the second part, the hardest thing was how to ask questions back, because it wasn't clear, like, oh, we are starting a conversation. It wasn't 100% sure. Well, I think kind of, again, how this course was laid out is a good start for sure to at least how to introduce yourself.
So, if you want to change your life with a Japanese speaking skill, seriously, join our master course, 2 months. So you can be ready to communicate with Japanese people after 2 months. So, for example, you can maybe make Japanese friends, you can enter the Japanese company, you can try more conversation with Japanese people every day. So that's why your speaking skill grow up every day. So these 2 months, we're gonna make a perfect the foundation of your Japanese speaking skill. Then you can start speaking with Japanese people, real life or social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, or anywhere that you can actually have the chance to speak. So if you really want to change your life seriously with Japanese communication skill, speech skill, presentation skill, for the business, for the private, let's join the master course.